city anymore. It's a battleground. And whoever controls the most turf is going to rule this whole town.
All right, always excited to talk about this game. I'm always excited to talk to Eric here. Thanks very much for joining us here on a wonderful another Gamescom.
Well, thanks for having me here.
Okay, now, went through, you're showing some new stuff for Arkham Origins. Can you give us a quick rundown of what's on show here at Gamescom?
Sure, here at Gamescom we're showing an all-new location, which is the Pioneer's Bridge, which has been taken over, in the case of this game story, taken over by Firefly. He's planted a number of high explosive and incendiary devices across the bridge, taken a whole lot of hostages to draw Batman out. He's not kind of a quiet, sneaky character like Deathstroke or someone that's going to ambush Batman. So he's created this big spectacle to try and draw the police in, to try and force Batman to come out and engage him. And that's what Batman does. Batman sneaks through the police perimeter against the wishes of James Gordon, who's running the perimeter, and tries to take Firefly's bombs down and free the hostages.
Now, applying that, a new character into the franchise, we know you're revealing assassins very, very slowly over the course of the reveal up to the release in October. But how are you guys finding introducing a new assassin into the mix? I mean, does that give you new gameplay opportunities?
Oh yeah, all the characters, all the assassins, all the enemies in the game, not just the assassins but the most wanted, were chosen because of the gameplay potential that they brought. So Firefly is a very unique character. He's kind of the high watermark of technical abilities in the enemies. Kind of like Mr. Freeze was the high watermark in technology in Arkham City. So he's a flyer, he has a jetpack, he has a flamethrower, he's a whole bunch of incendiary grenades. And he also has a bunch of guys working for him who don't know if he's going to blow up the bridge and take all of them with him. So he's kind of an unusual, quirky, potentially suicidal character. He's not really someone who's particularly rational. But yeah, they're chosen because of the unique gameplay that they bring. If you were just going to sit there and punch him, head to head, then there'd be plenty of other characters that could do that. But the fact that he can fly, the fact that he's very mobile, the fact that he has these unique weapons is the reason why he was chosen.
I guess it's a case of you're having to look at all this potential characters you can pull into Arkham Origins and go, yes, what fits in with the gameplay, but also what fits in with the character, what makes him what makes them interesting for the player to see and be talking to.
Absolutely, and we have to have a roster of diverse characters. We have to have characters with different styles of movement, different styles of gameplay associated with them, but also different personalities. And Firefly is a pretty quirky personality among even Batman's rogues gallery, and it also gives a chance to really have someone who's very high tech, someone who's got some very advanced, technology to their gear, and give them a very unique look, very unique sound to how his engines work. So, he's got a big personality and a big presence in the game when he's around.
Now, just before we started here, you were telling me about Deathstroke playable versus 100 enemies?
Yep. So there's Deathstroke playable is shown here for the first time at the Gamescom floor. And we're showing not just him with his unique fight style and his unique gadgets, we're also showing a map that comes uniquely with the Deathstroke pre-order DLC, which is 100 versus 1. Yeah. I think it's called 100 to 1. 100 to 1, sorry. Just making sure it passes legal. 100 to 1. So 100 to 1 mode sees the player go up against 100 enemies at once. They're not all on screen at once, we're not dragging the frame rate down into the dirt. But we do have waves of these guys that come up. It starts off fairly easy. We introduce more weapon types, more enemy types into the progression. And so the player really has to push themselves in terms of how they're going to take on that number of enemies. It's really something that I think will be fun for people when they just started playing the game to see just how far they can get. And by the time they've played through a bit more, they've delved into how deep the Arkham systems are, and they've started to upgrade their character, they'll realize that it's possible to get through this. So it's really rewarding to see how far you can come by playing a mode like 100 to 1.
I guess people find that who were playing the challenge maps from the previous games that it was something that it's the hardcore sort of style. You need to be able to use all these gadgets. You need to be precise with Batman's moves. And I guess Deathstroke plays the same, because there is gadgets there to play around with as well.
Yep, he has his own gadget suite. He has his own quick use abilities. He's not a clone of Batman. And he has his unique fighting style where he uses his staff, and he also has his super strength. He also has regeneration, which is something we've added through him as well. So if he's not been hit for a little while, he'll start to tick his health back up, which is really useful in a big long fight like 100 to 1.
And the other thing you're showing off is the shock gauntlets that Batman's going to be rocking during fights.
That's right. Earlier in the story, before we've seen the events that we're seeing here at Gamescom on the Pioneer Bridge, Batman gets a unique gadget upgrade, a new ability, the shock gloves, we're calling it, and that allows him to build up energy when he's hitting enemies, when he's countering enemies, and we'll see this meter start to fill up during a fight, and then when it fills up all the way, he can unleash the power of these gloves, and he can use them to counter enemies he previously couldn't counter, such as shield users and baton users. He can use it to do attacks straight through shields. You can just punch straight through them. So it gives him an edge in the fight if he's built up enough power to use them. And then we get a unique set of animations as he's using these things in the fight too, which is really cool.
Imagine that, because for myself, when playing the previous games, the shield guys and the battle guys always annoyed the hell out of me so much. So was that a sort of reasoning behind it to offer players a chance to sort of fight back with those characters, or you just wanted to evolve and grow the combat system of Batman?
Yeah, we really want to offer something new. I think that the fighting in the previous games is really so very good. We didn't want to rip it apart and trying to imagine what we would do if we didn't do that. We want to add things on top of that, which would add clear value to the player if he's playing the game. So if you played Arkham Asylum, if you played Arkham City, you can see that trajectory across those two games and how they evolved the fighting. So we're adding on top of that again to add new abilities for the player, to add new enemies for the player to fight, like the martial artist, like the enforcer, and we have some other stuff we haven't shown yet too. So really building on top of that very, very solid core to give the player something that I think if you were going to play the other games again you would miss, something which feels like a very natural, organic add-on on top.
Now you're coming close to the end of production. I mean, the game's out in October. We don't want to talk spoilers, obviously, but given that this is a prequel going into and has to tie into, I suppose, Arkham City and Arkham as well, Arkham Asylum, do you feel that Origins is the full stop for yourselves, or it's more like a new beginning?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think if you're asking me, is there more Batman stories to tell? Absolutely. I mean, so many years of this character being around and existing in so many forms, from animation, movies, comic books to lunchboxes, tells me there's a lot of Batman stories people want to know. And personally, I'm really excited with the franchise. So I think, we would love to tell more stories with that character, and we'll start, I think, with some narrative DLC we're going to ship after the game too. So there's stuff coming that people will be interested in, I think.
No rest for the wicked, eh?
Yeah, there was a time when you used to be able to finish a game when you shipped the game, and now it's like you finish the game and you keep on going, you keep making more stuff. But I think that's really exciting because we get to examine some of the mistakes we might have made. We get to think of new things we can add to the game, and you can't squeeze everything into the box that you ever wanted. You don't have a whole list of ideas and put them all in the game. You have a list of ideas and you put the ones that fit together. But the nice thing about DLC and add-on stuff, that you can tell entirely new stories that maybe are really great stories, but maybe didn't fit with for example, the high concept of the Assassins. So there's tons of Batman stories to be told, and we're excited to share what some of those are, I guess, after launch.
And just sort of wrapping up then, so is it confirmed then this is just 360, this is just PS3, there's no next gen talk at all?
I know everyone keeps asking this.
And you must be sick to death of it, I completely understand.
This game, Batman Arkham Origins, is PS3, 360, Wii U and PC.
That's great. Listen, thanks very much for talking to us.
Thanks for having me.
Hey guys, it's Holly here for Access PlayStation. I'm lucky enough to be at the London Batman Arkham Origins event, and it looks amazing. It's snowing indoors to give us that lovely Christmassy feel that you'll be getting from in-game, and you guys can join us as we'll be chatting to the voice actors Troy and Roger about what's set to make Batman Arkham Origins the next best Batman game. Now, you guys have worked on, I mean, like, just a ton of games between you. Of course, Lady's favourite. I'm a massive Ezio fan. But guys, you've come together for Batman. Not the first time you've worked together, but you are picking up characters that have previously been tied to some amazing actors. So what was that like for you guys? Not just becoming, Batman and Joker, but roles that have already been seen and you've kind of done really well in the past.
Obviously, these characters have been iterated on more than I think any other characters in entertainment medium. So it was not lost on us that this was a huge mantle for us to pick up, and fortunately we had a really, really good team to work with that we could trust and that they would trust us to take these characters and present them in a way that we haven't seen before. This is such an interesting origin story. So we had a lot of freedom within a brilliant framework to work within.
with all the previous iterations of the game, we knew that the pressure was on as far as like, well, what are you going to do with this character? You know, how do you think you're going to? But again, like you said, we were in with such great hands with this that you know, it was nice to sort of feel confident about going forward with the project, knowing that those guys had this awesome vision for what they wanted to accomplish.
So how do you guys do the filming then? Do you get in the booth together? You allowed to play off each other, or do you have to record separately? How does that work? Because obviously you guys have a great repertoire together.
Yes, we do. In some ways, almost too good. We got to record once or twice together.
Thank you. That's much better.
Once or
an Apple box in
twice.
there. I hate that. It's like watching the hand go like this for Troy's interviews. Like, it's good. How's everybody doing? Okay.
We got to record like once or twice together, and you know, you work as the script is presented to you. So a lot of times it's more about, let's focus on this level. We know that we want to do this. We're gonna keep this part while we kind of build that up a little bit. So you don't typically record chronologically, and a lot of times you revisit a lot of the stuff you've already recorded. And he and I have a tendency to just
not get a lot accomplished when we're in the same room. Little ADD kids that are, a lot of goofiness. Huh? Shiny. Butterfly. I got a chance. We really didn't get a chance to record a lot of scenes together, which actually I think it works. It works better to kind of create that tension maybe. But I got a chance to work with Martin Jarvis a lot, who does the voice of Alfred, and that was awesome. He's such an amazing human being. He's a really cool guy, and that I think, yes, golly, if I could have a sliver of that man's coolness when I'm fortunate enough to be that age, it was just not. I'm not calling him old. But that I think played really well for the fact that there's a lot of relationship development that takes place between Alfred and Batman as well that I thought worked well. But I mean, for us, it was really, I think, 1 or 2 sessions, and then I think they realized, like, we're not going to get enough accomplished.
This game.
Exactly. They're going to ruin the characters if it's the two of them together.
So what's the fan feedback been like? 'Cause, I mean, I think that Comic-Con panel seemed to have done particularly well on the internet. But what have the fans kind of been giving you? Because the fans love to get in contact with you guys, and you guys are both really active as well on kind of reaching out to people. So what have they been saying so far?
I've been very humbled by the support that people have given, because these are two characters that fans hold in such high regard, and there's almost this reverence to it that you don't touch, you don't mess with it, and they're very discerning fans. So at New York Comic Con, when we did that monologue, my heart was in my throat, and I don't typically get very nervous. I love being in front of people. Clearly, I like doing this. But when you're face to face with 2,000 people that are judging you, and to hear that response, that was overwhelming. And again, it's not just us two that are these characters. There's a team of people that are presenting it to give it to fans that are all have Batman ingrained in their DNA, that are taking it from what we bring to the character to its fruition, to what you see us behind. Or in front of, rather. So I've been incredibly grateful for the support that fans have given us over the last several weeks too.
I don't even remember the question. I'm just mesmerized. I'm standing here like,
in your eyes.
I could keep this going forever, but I'm afraid, guys, if I carry on, I am going to get kicked out of the room.
Oh,
but
so will we. That's true. Please, yeah.
but thank you so much for your time, and of course for giving everything you've got to Batman Arkham Origins. I'm sure the fans are looking forward to hearing you guys take on the roles of Joker and Batman.
So are we. Thank you
Yes,
so much.
thank you. I'm Roger Craig Smith. I voice Batman in Batman Arkham Origins.
I'm Troy Baker. I voiced the Joker in Batman Arkham Origins, and
You are watching Connected Digital World.
I did it!
Well played, sir. Yay!
Andrew from Connected Digital World here. Come with us into the Gotham City Police Department where we interview Troy Baker and Roger Craig Smith. Enjoy. Guys, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate
Thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Would you like to both introduce yourself and tell us which role you play in the game?
I am Roger Craig Smith. I am the voice of Batman in Batman Arkham Origins.
And I am Troy Baker, the voice of the Joker in Batman Arkham Origins.
So, let's start off one for both of you. You've got some pretty big shoes to fill with Batman and the Joker. How do you feel going into the game with that sort of pressure?
You
first.
Yeah, thanks. I'll answer this from under the bus. There's no way you can fill the shoes. I've said this in the past. There's no way I can fill the shoes of Kevin Conroy. There's no way I can fill the shoes of Christian Bale. There's no way I can fill the shoes of Adam West. All of them. Because, as you've pointed out so many times, that we're coming up on the 75th anniversary. Or is it already 75 years?
Coming up on it.
Coming up on. This is such an iconic character the whole world over for just comics and video games and animation. You just hope that you do the absolute best, most honest job to pay homage to the character that you can, but knowing full well that you're going to be compared to, any of those versions, truthfully, not just the Kevin Conroy, but arguably with the video game medium, where people are looking at the previous two Arkham games. And so it was never about necessarily trying to impersonate, because I would have walked away from that and said, no, not doing that. You can't do that. But it was trying to pay homage to this character as well as prior performances, both in the live action, the animated series, and in the video game world. And even then, it's just, you still don't. I'm still nervous as all get up, because it's still just is one of those things where I can't believe you guys would have given me this opportunity. So there's, I'm in this Grand Canyon cavernous, bottom of a shoe looking up going, okay. So there's no way you can do it right, I don't think.
I ran originally. I mean, you want to talk about shoes, there were trainers that I was going that way, the opposite direction. And because, like he says, the enormity of the situation, as fans and as gamers, you know what you're up against. You know what, I would have said the same exact thing. Who's going to play Joker? Stop. Why is it not Mark Hamill?
Mm-hmm.
People just want to simply clone Mark Hamill, this guy included, just for the next 3 generations to portray the character. And what I finally had to understand, and this is what the team was able to convey to me beautifully, is that we're not trying to replicate. This is something different. We get to see a completely different version, a raw, unformed version of these characters. So thankfully we have something, a wonderful star on the horizon to steer our ships towards and to point to. But we're not tied to those exact performances, and what you have to do is ground yourself in a really good character and a really strong story. And once you do that, you no longer have to worry about does it match up to these performances, but instead you just get people to believe that these are the characters.
In fact, you just answered my next question, so well done.
What was the next question?
The next question was, how do you create
Show
something for people who know characters as much as they do it, but early on in both of their careers, both Joker and Batman? So.
For me, now this guy's an encyclopedia of the Batman lore. And for me, I was relying very heavily on Eric Holmes and Amanda Wyatt, Eric, our creative director, Amanda Wyatt, our voiceover director, simply because I knew that I was at a disadvantage as far as knowing as much as what you've known.
But that could be an advantage.
No, but honestly, and the more I went back and the more I started thinking about the project and what we were going to accomplish, I went, okay, I could sit there and try to do what Kevin Conroy did, or I could sit there and try to do a Christian Bale impersonation, which everybody out there already has them, and the growling, swear to me, and all that stuff. I could go down that route and just completely ruin this entire situation, or I can sit there and say, boy oh boy, Eric Holmes for taking this on and being so passionate about it. I'm going to rely very heavily on that guy, because he's obviously got this creative vision, and everybody at Warner Brothers Montreal, knowing what they wanted to accomplish, I'm going to lean on these guys, because in that sense it became a bit of a relief, because I went, man, but I don't know as much. I know the sort of, I could do the poor man's version of, but I don't want to do that. That would be terrible for the character, and thankfully we spent many sessions just working together as a group to try to come up with the voice print for this character, so that it would be honoring the character and not just trying to appease fans. And it was us really exploring this from the get-go, being an Origins game, playing around with that stuff. And Eric, from the get-go, man, that guy just knew right off the bat where he wanted to go. And we were all kind of pulling in the reins on one another in a lot of ways as well. But yeah, between Amanda and Eric, thank goodness they were there to kind of steer me in the directions, the right direction. Because I did not, after going back and playing, if I play through this again, and have that in my brain, I'm going to wind up inevitably doing an impression. And why have me in there? There's a million people who could do a better version of that anyway, but none as good as Kevin. So why have me in there? So thankfully Eric was there to steer me.
I think for me, there was you need a keystone, you need a codex, that once you have this dialed in, that the character just kind of, unfolds for you a little bit. And again, that comes from having a story that's written out very well thought out. And, I had, things for me that kind of helped me to stay in character is such a actory thing to say, and it's more about just being dialed in and focused in this scene. Because if I'm so focused about being in character that I'm not in the story, and if I'm in the story, then I'm going to find the character. But I would keep a copy of the Killing Joke on my iPad up, and there was one specific panel that I just kind of looked to, and it's really just about having freedom to fail, and being willing to make a complete ass out of yourself, and leave it on the floor. And everybody that's on this game, from the creative director, to the voice director, to the actors, to the animators, to the level designers, to the lighters, to the coders, to the programmers, all of these guys, everyone signed on to bleed for this game. And that's what went into this game, and I really think that's what people are going to see once they pick up that controller.
Did you bleed? Seriously? What did you do? No. Oh, like picked at a cuticle. Gotcha.
That's cool. That's deep as well.
Picking at cuticles.
Yeah.
It's a metaphor for the existence of. See, Batman's kind of like a hangnail. And,
I'm liking it.
Stop me while I'm not a
hangnail in the night.
Exactly. Pick at me.
Is that the DLC?
Oh, exactly. There you go. Oh, spoiler, dude.
I can cut that.
Okay, thank you.
Keep it
Yeah,
secret.
don't want to say that.
Between you guys, you've both voiced a hell of a lot of characters. Which one's been your favourite?
It's like, I always make the joke and say, if you asked a drowning man what his favorite breath is, it's probably the one that he took right before he fell in the water. If you've done good work, I think you walk away with an impression of that character kind of forever with you, and you carry that with you. And it's not only just the character and the story, but it's also the experience that you had working on it. And those are incomparable to, each experience is its own little thing, and to say it's your favorite, it's like Sophie's Choice. You can't pick your favorite kid.
I have a very pretentious actory kind of response, but I'm gonna tie that into with the drowning man metaphor. Because for me, if I'm a drowning guy, my favorite breath is the next one, meaning that I'm not quite done drowning.
Understood.
It's inevitable that I'm gonna, this was so much better. Can we go back to hangnails?
I like
or cuticle pick. For me, it's always like every day behind a VO mic. We've said this thousands of times. Every day behind a VO mic is a miracle. I cannot believe that I get to do this for a living, and to have done it for these iconic characters is a huge honor. The notion that there could be something else lying ahead is insane.
Sure.
And so for me, the next gig is going to be my favorite one, because it's just I can't believe I get to do it again. And really and truly, you can't pick any of these favorites, because every single one of them is a massive honor. It doesn't matter, if it's whatever franchise it might be for. The fact that somebody somewhere was willing to go, listen, we listened to all these auditions, and we want to go with you for this role. Right. You just go, you got the right number, right? You know, you sure you don't want to call Troy Baker, and so it's hard to say. Like, you can't answer that. You can't answer that. It's always funny when people are Marvel or DC or, who's you? It's like, gosh, I don't know. I mean, all these characters are awesome. It's like, doesn't matter.
Okay, and last question then. If you guys could play any character at all, anywhere, who would it be and why?
I would. Ariel from Little Women. Nice. No, sorry, you go ahead. If you're gonna,
I think
that's fine.
Think
This
about
is
yours.
awkward.
I would. It'd be pretty safe to say that this is the one that 12-year-old kid in me was really looking towards. Not because I wanted to replace anyone, but even in the theater of my own mind. Like, when I went in to do the audition, I didn't care if I got the role. I was actually counting myself out. I didn't think there was any way I was going to get it. I just wanted to hear myself do the Killing Joke monologue. That really was a lot of what it was, and I just, for no other reason, if that didn't go anywhere besides that room for those 3 minutes, that's a dream come true. To even get the opportunity to audition for something like that, that someone thinks that I have some merit enough to listen for, be considered for a role. But I don't know what I would want to take away, because like one of the reasons why I love the Joker so much is because of what Mark Hamill did for the last 25 years, you know? And that goes with every character that I've seen. I wouldn't want to be the guy that screws it up, so.
I would love to do any of the station announcements for the trains here. I think that would be...
Cockfosters.
Thank you.
One of my favorite.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next stop, Cockfosters.
See, and to think, you'd have to be a professional not to mess that up, because if you mess
I
that
would
up,
giggle.
it could go horribly wrong. There are children. Yeah, there's no way I can't even begin to fathom answering that seriously, just because the stuff that I've already been able to do is like every single time. It's like, how am I in this room? How do I get to sit next to this guy right now, and why? And so no, there's no. I've already.
Forcing you to.
Well, yeah, there's that, contractually obligated, I guess. No, that I've already done it. I mean, that's a weird thing to say, and I don't necessarily believe that, because I don't want this to be the downturn. But it's just insane that I've had these opportunities, and so to pick or choose a particular character, I've already gotten to. I mean, I got to voice Batman. If it's one and done for me from here on out, it's like, yeah, but I did it, and I've had, you know, dreams come true with Disney and things like that. It's just nuts. I can't imagine anything else out here, and I've already done it. The dreams have already come true in so many ways, like, and they've happened more than just once. So, yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you very much
Thank
for your
you.
time
Thank
today.
you so much, man.
Thank you.
In case you missed it, we also got to interview Ben Mattis, the senior producer on the game, and why not subscribe to us by clicking on the screen now. Thanks for watching.
We're here today to talk about Batman Arkham Origins, and you're watching the Connected Digital World.
Thanks for joining us. Would
Thank
you
you.
like to introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Sure, so my name is Ben Mattis. I'm the senior producer at WB Games Montreal on Batman Arkham Origins.
So, Batman Arkham Origins, tell us a little bit about that.
So Batman Arkham Origins is a prequel game to Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, obviously part of the Arkham-verse. It is an early career Batman story as a result of that, which takes place in year 2 of his career. By our math, Arkham Asylum is about year 7, which puts Arkham City at about year 9. So as a result of that, our Batman is, we like to say, younger and rawer, much less fully formed. It gives us some wonderful opportunities to tell what we think will hopefully stand out and kind of stand the test of time as a must-experience early career Batman story. So by year 2 in his career, he's used to being the best, because really the only people in Gotham who are kind of opposing him, or that he is focused on, are organized crime and gangs and whatnot. So no one with any sort of enhanced abilities that would challenge his own. But all of that changes on the night that this game takes place. It's Christmas Eve, and the Black Mask has put Black Mask, who's the #1 crime lord in Gotham, has put a $50 million bounty on Batman's head, which has attracted 8 of the top assassins in the DC universe to Gotham for one night to kill the Bat. So when they bring with them their gangs and thugs and mercenaries and whatnot to try and create chaos and turmoil in the city streets, they're hoping that'll lure Batman out into the open where they can kill him and collect the bounty. So over the course of this night, Batman goes from the world of the familiar to the world of the unknown in an instant. This $50 million is a catalyst that attracts assassins, obviously, that takes people in the city that he's used to interacting with, like cops and SWAT and whatnot, and in some cases turns them against him at an all new level because there's a $50 million bounty there. So this sort of this turmoil of chaos is just growing and growing. This sort of maelstrom is just getting more and more chaotic. And all of the events of this night are also attracting other members of the rogues gallery, let's say, who aren't necessarily in it for the money, but see an opportunity to put their own plans into action. And we've talked about some of these characters in the past, characters like Anarchy and Mad Hatter, who just go, there's all sorts of crazy happening tonight. I'm going to go kidnap someone, or I'm going to go blow up some buildings, or what have you. So this formative night in his career literally changes everything. It opens the Pandora's box, and it will force Batman to evolve at a pace unlike anything he's ever had to do before. He has to go, we like to say, from being just the masked vigilante to truly becoming the Dark Knight. And if he doesn't, not only is his life forfeit, but the city that he's sort of sworn to protect as well.
Right, so you mentioned obviously there are 8 of the top assassins.
Yeah.
How did you guys go about picking those 8?
Yeah, it's a fun process. I remember early on in the project, there was a long list of people who kill for money in the DC universe, right? So, 30 different people up on a board. And there was sort of 3 filtering criteria. One was, can we make them look cool? Like, if there's no way that they're going to fit in the Arkhamverse, then let's not go with them. The second was, can we make sure that we have some diversity of our assassin lineup? If you had 8 large, muscular, white guys with Eastern European accents, it wouldn't be a very exciting lineup of villains, because they'd kind of all fight the same. You kind of encounter them the same way and defeat them the same way. So we wanted to make sure we had a diversity of physical size, ability set, sex, nationality, whatnot. But by far the most important criteria was, how do their ability sets, and all of those ability sets are well known, we can pull it straight from the comics, how can we map those ability sets against the core mechanics in the Arkham game to make sure that these assassins are serving as a master class, a final exam to challenge the player's mastery and understanding of key abilities. So in the case of Deathstroke, he's a very, very competent martial artist, hand-to-hand fighter. He can rival and challenge Batman in that regards. And he has a sword and the staff and the gun and various other cool elements, because he's he's ruthless. He will kill happily. And so we designed the Deathstroke boss fight to really focus on challenging Batman's ability to counter. And if you can defeat Deathstroke, you have mastered all of the different kinds of permutations of countering a single attack, countering multiple attacks, countering multiple simultaneous attacks, or attacks that are spaced out. You've sort of mastered countering in all of its different facets, to the point where, with Deathstroke defeated, when you're out in the game, you should feel a pretty strong confidence in your ability to counter whatever we can throw at you. And so, just as Batman is evolving towards becoming the Dark Knight, so too is the player sort of earning their black belt in being Batman. And these assassin encounters are sort of the tests that you have to pass before you can, I am Batman.
Let's talk a little bit about the combat system. Obviously, it's similar but different.
Yep.
So do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah. There are certain elements of the game where we felt a desire to invest heavily and reimagine the detective and case file system is one area where we put a lot of energy to sort of really reinforce that fantasy of being the world's great detective above and beyond what we think was done in the previous games in the franchise. And then there were other areas where we definitely had a sort of, if it's not broke, let's not try and fix it mentality. And free flow combat is exactly one of those situations. We could have spent tens of millions of dollars and years recreating that system from the ground up in order to fix the camera angle in these super niche circumstances that sometimes isn't in exactly the perfect position, and broken 10 other things as a result of that. And it would have been a horrible investment in our time and energy and money, and in fact we might have made the system worse. The free flow combat system is, in our opinion, biased as it may be, an industry class hand-to-hand melee system, and has depths to it that many players just haven't sort of delved. They haven't experienced how deep that is. So we wanted to iterate on top of that and add new strategies with new enemies and new gadgets, and modify some animations in order to help reinforce this younger, raw Batman, and how he's always returning to a sort of combat stance rather than a more neutral stance. But what we've also invested significantly in is making sure players understand just how deep down the rabbit hole they can go with this system, in terms of training them, in terms of clearly communicating to them the amount of experience points that they receive as a result of a fight, helping them understand how they could have earned more experience points, how they could have done better, giving them opportunities to practice, and when they're upgrading, clearly communicating to them what these upgraded gadgets do, what these upgraded abilities do, showing them in a video what it does, showing them, with text and with button prompts, really making sure that people aren't just, whatever, I'll just upgrade my Batarang because, I don't know, everything else I don't know what it does, so I'm just going to upgrade my Batarang. We don't want people upgrading haphazardly. We want them carefully focusing their upgrades on the challenges they're currently facing, so that, again, with this idea that the player's evolution in their abilities and Batman's evolution through the intensity of the night are sort of advancing in lockstep.
Cool. You mentioned, obviously, training the player in order to use some of the combat features. That's part of the new training gymnasium in the Batcave.
Yep.
So do you want to talk a little bit about the Batcave, what that really represents in this game, and obviously then the training gymnasium?
Well, who doesn't at least wish they had the man cave? Like, who doesn't want a man cave, right? Everyone wants a man cave or has a man cave. I used to have one, don't have now, 2 kids, but I certainly loved having one. And the Batcave was like the original man cave, right? It was like that, it was such a core fantasy for us at the very beginning of development that we absolutely wanted to go to the Batcave, the one under Wayne Manor, which is where all of his toys are, where all of his gadgets, where all of his, his stuff is centralized, both for narrative reasons, because there's wonderful opportunities to place Easter eggs and sort of hidden piece of information in it, and for core gameplay reasons, a place that would actually attract the player back to it multiple times over the course of the game. So, the key standout functionality in the Batcave, above and beyond its other sort of attractions, is the training gym, where we've centralized all of the challenge maps that you will unlock over the course of the game, as well as this all-new training mode. And the training mode has 12 different training situations, each with 3 different trophies or objectives. So the first one might be, learn how to build a ×5 or a ×8 combo meter. The second one is learn how to counter. The third one is, learn how to do beatdowns. But by the end, it's things like learn how to use a combination of your concussion detonator and your explosive gel and the multi-ground combo takedown in order to tear through large groups. So it kind of works its way up to some very advanced tactics. And you'll unlock these over the course of the game as Batman is encountering, for example, the martial artist for the first time. You encounter the martial artist for the first time, boop, back in the training gym, you've got a martial arts training situation unlocked. If you're having challenges with the martial artists out in the open world, you have the opportunity to just summon the Batwing, head back to the Batcave, go to the training gym, and practice in this scenario against the martial artists multiple times until you feel comfortable that you've mastered or been remastered, as it might be, how to counter their multiple attacks. Then, once you feel comfortable with it, you earn experience points as a result of your training, because you are literally practicing, and as Batman, it makes sense that the skills that you are practicing in the training map should be every bit as valuable as the skills you're practicing when you're out in the open world. You can level up your character, choose, upgrade, whatever the case might be, go back out into the open world, and then kind of do it for real. So we think it's a wonderful opportunity for people to safely practice and also be rewarded for the fact that they're safely practicing, and that's all centralized in the Batcave.
Brilliant. One last question before
sure.
we go. The voices.
Yeah.
Who can you reveal as voices so far?
So the ones that stand out in the presentations that we've done so far definitely have to be our Batman, which is Roger Craig Smith, and our Joker, which is Troy Baker. They were both cast after sort of extensive auditioning, looking for voice actors who understood the need to fill in the early career shoes that grow to become the characters as portrayed by the voice actors from the later games like Mark Hamill, whatnot. We need Roger to create a version of the character that becomes Kevin Conroy's version of Batman, and we needed Troy to do a version of the character that becomes Mark Hamill, while still obviously adding their own quirks, their own elements, their own little sort of personality components to it. We were looking for people who could do young, raw versions of those characters, and both Troy and Roger understood that from day one. And hopefully the results speak for itself, but we're very happy with their performances.
Great. We look forward to finding out more voices when the game comes out. And when is that?
So the game comes out October 25th on Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, PC, Wii U, as well as the companion game, which is called Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate, which comes out on the Nintendo 3DS and the PlayStation Vita.
Great. Thank you for talking to us today.
Thanks.
Hi guys, I'm Guillaume Vogel, I'm World Team Producer on Batman Arkham Origins, and you're watching Eurogamer.
Now hold on a bloody minute! I seen your act! I ain't done nothing you not done! Black Mask, put a bounty on my head. Where is he? I don't keep tabs on every geezer with a grudge. You're not a popular bloke in this town. You're running out of time.
I'm Batman! I'm not really Batman. I'm Ian Higton, Eurogamer's YouTube editor. But I do have a nice utility belt. I keep my screwdrivers and even a spanner in it, which is lovely. So, there were loads of awesome games on show at this year's Eurogamer Expo, with one of the fan favourites being this game, Batman Arkham Origins. Wandering around the Batman booth at Earl's Court was none other than Guillaume Vogel, one of the game's producers, so I grabbed him and asked him some questions, in front of a camera, because it'll be a dark night when I miss an opportunity for an interview, I tell thee.
It appears the game is over before it even begins. I'm not playing games, Slade.
Batman Arkham Origins, it's the origin story of Batman. It's 2 years in his career. He's really used to dealing with thieves, with drug dealers, but now on Christmas Eve, Black Mask decided to put a 50 million bounty on his head. And that bounty attracts a lot of the worst, deadliest assassins in the world. 8 of them. Among them is Deadshot, Deathstroke, so really bad guys. And it's Batman that's going to learn to deal with these guys because he's never had such a level of threat after him. And he's going to have to deal with them. And make sure Christmas Eve goes all right.
Arkham Origins is set 5 years before the first game, Arkham Asylum. Was it hard for you guys to keep the story in canon with the series?
It felt good for us to do an origin story because it provided kind of a clean slate narratively to explore what Batman was like in his youth. So what you're going to encounter is an inexperienced, raw Batman that is going to have to learn to know these villains. It's his first encounter with the Joker, so that's a really interesting relationship to explore. And with a lot of other villains, it's going to be the first time he's going to see this level of threat. So definitely, it's something interesting to go and explore.
So how does this affect his arsenal? He hardly had any gadgets or weapons at the start of Arkham Asylum, so in Arkham Origins, will he have even less?
That's always one of the big questions. We really wanted to stay true to the core of Batman. Great fighting, great exploration, and even if narratively sometimes, historically, sometimes it didn't make sense for him to have his gadget that early, we decided gameplay comes is king. Gameplay comes first, and we really want to give the player the best combat experience, and so we decided to go with that and evolve it a little bit further. So you're going to get additional gadgets and additional moves that Batman is going to be able to perform that are going to help him take down those villains.
Let's talk a little about Gotham City. How big is Batman's new playground?
Gotham City is, compared to Arkham City, it's double the landmass. We created the new South Gotham, which is the downtown area. Very tall buildings, different types of gameplay and navigation. You're gonna fight bad guys on very high rooftops, and you're gonna explore canyons made by buildings. So go between two buildings flying. It gives a very different perspective on the game.
Is the Arkham portion of Gotham City a copy and paste job from Batman Arkham City, or has the area been totally redesigned?
You're gonna recognize it, but it's completely revamped. And there's also the Christmas Eve layer above it. It's actually sometimes difficult to recognize it, and we wanted to go down that route to make sure the game still is fresh and gives player the opportunity to explore in different areas.
You've introduced random events all around the city. Can you explain what these are for?
Random events is we wanted to have a taste of what Gotham City really is like under chaos. So you have all these big assassins that are after you, but at the same time, all the thugs and the petty criminals are not in vacations. So you're gonna turn around the corner and see people beating up cars or beating up an ATM or taking hostages, and this is really to give more life to the city. It's going to give Batman more opportunities to get not only gain some XP, but also help the Gotham City Police Department clean up the city during that mess. So for the players, it's a lot of random events that give you more options.
What do you want? I didn't do nothing.
One of the best things about the Batman games is the amazingly fluid combat. Have you changed the combat system in any way, or have you left it as it is?
The combat is very true to the franchise. We really want to keep it at the core of it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And we changed a little bit here and there just to feel that Batman is a bit more bigger, a bit more brash, a bit more tougher. But very slightly in a way that just adds all of that taste to the combat.
There is now XP in the game. How do you get it, and what is it used for?
Each encounter in Arkham Origins is graded. You can have score A, B, C, D, and it's going to analyze how you did in the combat, in a certain fight, which gadgets you used, how difficult was the fight, and that gives you less or more XP. So let's say you have 5,000 XP points. If you did well, you might receive an additional 5,000 above that. And this XP is going to allow you to upgrade your weapons, upgrade your gadgets, upgrade your skills. And it's going to give Batman more tools to defeat the villains.
And will any of this XP be available to use in the Batman Arkham Origins multiplayer mode?
No, we kept it separate. We wanted to make sure Splash Damage has their own space to develop their multiplayer, and that we could have our independence develop the best single-player campaign possible.
Now you best listen, Falcone. Because this is the last time I'll ask.
Now, I read you had a DLC skin available based on Adam West's costume from the 1960s TV show. Is that true?
We have a skin based on the 60s TV show. People love it. We on the dev team, we usually play with it. We really love it. It comes with a pre-order on PS3 if I'm not mistaken, and but it's going to be also available on any stores, live stores, if you want to buy it.
Have you got Adam West's actual voice?
No, it's not linked to Adam West. It's linked to the 60s TV show, but not to Adam West at all.
When you punch people, do you get kapow?
No, that's a great idea.
It is indeed. But you owe me royalties if that happens now, Guilherme. The change in developer for this new Bat game has got a few fans worried, but judging by what we've been shown so far, and by the positive fan feedback at EGX, it seems like Bruce Wayne is in good hands. I'll be featuring community multiplayer events on Batman Arkham Origins as soon as it's available, so make sure you subscribe to this channel by clicking on that on-screen annotation for that and so much more. That's all, folks. Bye!
What are you waiting for? Don't stand there! Kill him! Now, come on now! Remind me why I pay you, ponces! Wait! Punch him in the face! Kill him, you bloody wankers! Are you waiting for a personal invitation? Kick his arse, you numpty brats! What are you waiting for?